Have you ever wanted to make something from scratch but weren't sure where to start? Well, today is your lucky day as I will be showing you all how to turn yarn into something new. I'm going to show you all how to crochet. First, we'll talk about what materials and supplies to use, then some basic stitches, and finally, what people actually make. I first learned how to crochet when I was in elementary school, and I was taught by my great-grandmother. I then took a hiatus as I tried out different types of crafts and because I got burnt out from crocheting all the time. But I recently came back to it and have learned to use YouTube videos to expand my knowledge, and I've been crocheting for the past 6 months. So, first, when crocheting, you need to pick the correct tools and supplies. There are all different types of yarn made of all different types of materials. Here, we have some yarn made of 100% polyester and is very squishy and soft. We also have yarn that's made from 100% cotton, which is a little bit stiffer. Then we have here a blend. It is 80% polyester and 20% acrylic. Another thing about yarn is that there are different weights, going from 0, which is lace, to 7, which is jumbo. As you can tell, you wouldn't want to use this kind of yarn for every type of different crochet pattern. For example, if you want to make a itty bitty doll, you wouldn't use giant 7 yarn. You would want to use a 2 or a 3 or even a weight 4. Now that you have your yarn picked out, it's time to discuss your hooks. For example, going back to this medium 4 yarn, right on the label here, it recommends a 5.5 millimeter hook, which looks like this. However, you can use a bigger hook, say a 10 millimeter, which is definitely a lot larger, but it's going to give you much looser hooks, looser stitches with this kind of hook. What I would not recommend is using a 2 millimeter hook, which is significantly smaller and significantly smaller in reference to the yarn. So it'd be very difficult to crochet this type of yarn with this type of hook. That's why they give you the recommendations. So there are other tools that you would use when crocheting. For example, scissors. Scissors are great for cutting the yarn for when you're switching colors or when you've simply finished up the project. Another tool is the measuring tape. This can be useful when making projects such as scarves so that you know that you have the correct length. Another tool would be needles, which you would use for weaving in the ends of your yarn once you're done with your project. Now, another material or tool that you can use that isn't necessary, but I like, is something to hold the yarn that you're working with. This is my Ice Bear bucket, and I use him to hold the yarn that I'm currently working with. Now that we understand the types of materials to use and supplies, we can discuss the basic ways to put these materials together. Crocheting is a series of stitches. And today I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet stitch. So first off, we have to start by making a slip knot, which is one of my least favorite parts about crocheting. So we're going to take the yarn, we're going to make an X, and then we're going to stick the hook underneath the X. We're going to grab the top and pull it under the bottom, which, as you all can see, I'm not the best at, but I got there. There's the slip knot. Now we're going to make a chain. So we wrap the yarn around and pull through, and that's one chain. I'm going to do some more so it's a little bit easier for you all to see, but I'm just wrapping the yarn around and pulling through. And you continue to do this to make your work as wide or as long as you want it. And then you have this chain here. Now I'll actually go into making the single crochet. So you take your hook and you insert it into the back loop so that now you have 2 loops on your hook. Then you wrap the yarn around and pull through. So then you have 2 loops again, and you wrap around once more, this time pulling through both the loops, and there you have it. the single crochet stitch. And that's all there is to it for the most basic type of crochet stitch. There are, however, numerous types of stitches that are much more complex than that. And here we have just a few on a blanket that I've been working on. So here we have the double, the star, and then the bead, the waffle, the rice, the puff, which you could see much clearer than the darker colors, and then the shell, which is more of a wave pattern to it. YouTube is a great resource for finding stitches, and that's where I found how to do most of those stitches in that blanket. With the knowledge of various stitches and how to perform some, we can now look at what people actually make with them. There are numerous applications for this hobby to your life. For example, people like to make clothes. They make tops, hats, scarves, all types of different stuff. Some people even make shorts, which I wouldn't recommend because the crochet tends to be stiffer, and since crochet often has holes in it, it wouldn't give the best coverage. So that's not something I would really personally like to do. But what most people like to do when they're beginning is to make scarves, because like I showed you all, you can make the chain and then just do single stitch all the way down and then get out your measuring tape to make sure it's the right length. And there you have a scarf. People also like to make decor items, such as accent pillows, pillowcases, blankets, and even cute little dolls. Lastly, people can make stuff for their kitchen. People can make dishcloths and pot holders. This is something that my great-grandmother loved to do. You can even use scrubby yarn. This one is made from 100% nylon, or this type of scrubby yarn made of 100% cotton, and make pot scrubbers. Overall, crochet has numerous applications. And through this time, I showed you how to crochet by explaining to you the different materials and supplies, some basic stitches, and also how people apply it to their lives. Now that you have seen crochet in action, it's time to embrace your inner yarn enthusiast and make some memorable goods. Thank you.